Look out! It's a monster!
Earlier this year, I played through the Resident Evil remake for the first time ever, and I loved the game. It's really great going back to this title and playing through it and seeing kind of the franchise roots to where we are now with a lot more of the games that are remade, taking on a more third-person action perspective. This one still retains a lot of the original tank controls and perspective. While I played through the game, I played through on my 4K TV on the PC and used this mod to help make the backgrounds look a bit better for me. Now that Resident Evil is verified on the Steam Deck, I figured it was a good time to show this mod off on the Steam Deck. It's really easy to install and set up, but I'll give you a little guide on how to do it. Now this mod specifically targets the backgrounds for this game. In this game, the backgrounds are pre-rendered, and they did this so the backgrounds could look really nice at the time, and they could also have a very high polygon budget for the characters so they could look really good. And this really helped the game age super well, and it holds up really well today. Now the problem with this, with the pre-rendered backgrounds, is that the images that they are using in the backgrounds are not rendered at the highest resolution when they originally made them. So now the creator of this mod is essentially using an AI upscaler to upscale the images, and then the images are being downsampled back to the original resolution and then injected into the game, where the textures look quite a bit better for backgrounds in certain locations. I think on bigger screens it's more noticeable, but on the Steam Deck here, it still looks nicer in this version. Now I'll jump over how to set up this mod on the Steam Deck. Like I said, it's very straightforward, and then after we set up the mod, I'll do some side-by-side comparisons with the original version of the game and point out some of these scenes where you can definitely notice the difference between the textures. To find this mod online, it's pretty straightforward. Just search for Resident Evil Upscale, and the first Google link should bring you to the website for the creator of the mod. As of August 2022, this is the latest version, 1.5. We can just find it in the download section. And here, I just use the Nexus mod version to download it, because it's just all in one file, and then I can download the hotfixes after on. Otherwise, on the website, there's also a bunch of other versions listed if you want to download it in fragments. I'm just the most familiar with Nexus mods, so I'm just going to get it from there. Now, unfortunately, I currently don't have a premium account for Nexus mods, so my download is going to be limited to 2 megabits per second, which is definitely not very fast. So this download for me took about an hour, maybe an hour and a half, and I have 1000 gigabits per second download speed, so I'm definitely being limited by Mod Nexus here. Next, just grab Hot Patch 1 and Hot Patch 2, download them. They'll be really quick, they don't take long to download, and then once you have all that in your downloads folder, we can go ahead and drop the mod into our game files. Now, I currently have Resident Evil Remake installed to my MicroSD card on my Steam Deck. If it's installed to your internal storage, make sure you have hidden files enabled so you can see them, and then I will put down in the description below where you can find the files for the game. So now that everything's downloaded, open up the 1.5 archive, and there will be a native PC folder. Now go to your Resident Evil folder and find native PC wherever it's located. Drag the archive one over to the Resident Evil installation, and it should just copy all the files over. When you're prompted, make sure to overwrite any files that tells you about, and that should be good to go from there. Also, try to ignore the no door files I have here in the background. There's also a mod that cuts out doors for Resident Evil, but unfortunately I couldn't quite get it working on the Steam Deck in time for this video. Now, the process for the other hotfixes is pretty similar to the original one here. Here, for both of the hotfixes, the native PC folder has a slightly different folder name than it does on the actual game installation, so don't copy the whole folder over because it'll just copy the thing instead of overwriting it. Go into it, look for the ARC folder, and copy that over to the ARC folder in the native PC for your game installation. Now, for each of the hotfixes, just let them overwrite the files that are already there, and with both hotfixes installed, we should be good to go to play the game now. Now I have a side-by-side pulled up here for the original version versus the modded version. Remember that this mod targets the backgrounds, so textures on the characters themselves won't be improved. And a lot of the cases for the backgrounds, it's not the most noticeable thing ever with the small resolution of the Steam Deck, but in certain instances, it does look quite a bit better. Now I'll jump to a couple scenes where I think it's more noticeable to see the difference between the upscale version and the native version. I've frozen this frame here just after the opening. Look at the wood texture along the door frame. It looks a lot better on the right side. Additionally, if we look at the white wall in the back there, the shadows look less muddy on the upscaled version, and actually the portrait of the person there is easier to make out on the upscaled version, whereas on the left-hand side it is pretty muddy. Here we have a painting that's been enhanced. On the right-hand side, I definitely think it looks a little bit better, but there are artifacts in certain spots that do look like sharpening artifacts that are left behind by the AI upscaler. In this still frame here, I think the ground looks significantly better on the right-hand side than the muddy look it has on the left-hand side. Additionally, the column is a little bit sharper on the right-hand side with less of a muddy texture there. Now that's going to cover it for today, guys. This mod isn't quite as big as an overhaul as you've seen for something like Resident Evil 4, where a lot of the textures there are reworked more than the ones here for the backgrounds. And if you want to see a video about that, check out my other video I have on screen right now, covering how you can set that up for the Steam Deck. Other than that, have a good day and consider subscribing and liking this video. Bye.